I've got something to say. It's better to burn out than to fade away.
There can be only one!
Dudes, so today we're going to take a look at United Cutlery's Kurgan Sword from the Highlander series. The Kurgan was the baddest motherfucker of all the Highlander movies, and his sword is, you could say, iconic. It is a very unique sword. Not so much for just the general shape of the blade and whatnot, but you know, the coolest part of the sword, the little spikes on the guard. I remember watching this whenever I was a kid, and boy, I seen those little spikes pop out like, ooh, man, that's cool. I want one. And didn't actually think, you know, all these years later that I would actually get one, but got lucky.
I don't think so.
So, these are long gone, sold out. I'm not exactly sure how many they put out before ending the product line. This one, they are serialized. This one is serial number 789. But of course, it doesn't say of how many. It was probably an unlimited edition. And then they finally just decided to end it at some point, which is not uncommon. Just because you have serialized swords, it doesn't mean that there is a finite amount that is supposed to make up that edition. But, you know, it is what it is. So the original sword, it was going for about $150, $160, something like that. So I mean, it wasn't a really expensive sword to get, but you know, as most things do, whenever they sell out, the price has gone up quite a bit. Now this little guy, I found him at a flea market. We've got a big flea market down in Houston. And so me and my wife were there, and we happened to come across a fellow that was selling a bunch of swords, and lo and behold, here the Kurgan sword was new in box with dust on it in the corner of the store. I hadn't seen one of these for less than like $800 on eBay, and it was rare to even find them. So whenever I chatted with the guy, I asked him, so how much do you want for that? He said, well, we used to sell it for $200. It hadn't sold all these years, so $200. Hey, alrighty then. No arguments. So, you know, my little $200 investment, you know, could go for as much as like $800. So, you know, who's to say there isn't money investing in swords, huh? Especially with the impending zombie apocalypse. Yeah. So, this sword was actually designed by Kit Rae. Now, there's two Kurgan swords out there.
There can be only one.
Two licensed Kurgan swords. There is the Marto sword from out of Toledo, Spain, and then there is United Cutlery. Marto, whenever they did their first rendition, it didn't really come out all that great. It looked kind of, it didn't look like the prop in the movie. It had really short spikes, and the blade was dull. And then the handle looked didn't quite look the same. It looked unwieldy. The handle was quite large, and just, you know, it looked weird. So United Cutlery, they wound up getting the license for the Highlander series, and they consulted with Kit Rae on how to get this sword made, because they wanted it to be functional. They didn't want it to just, you know, have these little spikes sticking out and then not do anything. They actually wanted them to go in and out, in and out. And so Kit Rae went ahead and did that. He put some little gears in here with a little switch on the back so that you can actually open and close it. Now, although this is a much better rendition of the sword compared to the Marteau version, it's not without its faults. It's very screen accurate, but not 100%, and it's kind of hard to expect that anything would be 100%. But in this case, the very popular part of it, the spikes, in the movie, they actually sit in the guard. So whenever these spikes come out, they're actually up in the guard. And then whenever the Kurgan flips the switch, they pop out up into the position that they're at right now. So whenever they're hidden, whenever they're away, they're not up against the blade like in this replica, but they're actually supposed to be down inside the guard. And with the price point that United Cutlery was wanting, it wasn't really practical. And Kit Rae also wanted to try, he would have liked to have had it spring loaded, but retarded US laws about switchblades and, oh my god, it's got a spring, it's scary, it's gonna hurt me. Because of those laws, they had to go with a simple mechanical option with like a gear instead of using something spring loaded. And trying to put these spikes inside the guard would just the guard is already quite wide, and I'll show you later on as we do a close-up on it. But trying to stick the spikes inside of this thing and then having the mechanics, oh my god, it would have been really redunculous in width. So when Kit Rae designed this, he didn't base it off of a particular prop in the movie, because they had a few different swords and they didn't all look the same. They all kind of had their own little differences. So he got his inspiration from the suitcase sword. If you recall, in the movie, the Kurgan is in a hotel room and he whips out a case, and voila, there is the Kurgan sword broken down. He starts putting it back together. Yeah, let me just put this blade, yeah, my blade is two pieces. I like to take it with me whenever I travel, so I'll just break it down here. Let me pop this sword apart, split the blade. It's all good. It'll go back together. Cuts great. Hell, I can chop down a tree with it. Yeah, so obviously you can't tear it apart. It's all the blade is one piece. So yeah, you're not gonna get a blade that pops apart like that. Sorry. So yeah, so that's not screen accurate either, I guess. But yeah, his basis for it was the hotel scene, and really it's the best view that you get of the sword. It's the closest up view that you get of it. So they took his cues off of that, and he said it's not really supposed to be based on what you saw. It's what you think you saw. Kit Rae actually has a website where he documents some of the weapons that he's involved in making, because it's not just Highlander. He's been involved in all kinds of movies, and of course he has his own line of swords that he puts out through United Cutlery. So he's got a website. It's called like his scrapbook. It's unfinished. sadly, because I would love to see some more stuff about what went into making the different swords. But I'll put the link for the site in the description below. But you should check it out if you like to see a little bit of backstory on the swords that he does. It's really cool to kind of see what went into it. And, it's got comparative pictures between the United Cutlery version and the Marteau version, and then his own little story on what they were doing and what United Cutlery what he wanted to do, and then how they mashed it out, and all that good stuff. Basically, you get to see how the sausage is made.
Do you understand? Good.
So, the sword itself. It is made of stainless steel. Kit Rae was wanting to do carbon steel, but it wasn't really cost effective. And I mean, it's a wall hanger, so you're not really going to be doing any sort of cutting with it. So it doesn't make sense to have it. It's nicer to have it. It's more expensive to have it, and it's more work to keep up with it to have it. See, like me putting my hands on it, if it was a carbon steel blade, then you start worrying about whether it was going to rust, and you have to clean it and grease it, oil it. Well, not grease it, but oil it. And you need to have a fairly consistent maintenance program for a carbon steel blade. But with stainless steel, I can eat off of it, lick the blade, whatever I want to do with it, and just wipe it down with a cloth, maybe a little cleaner, and hunky dory. Dust it every once in a while. But other than the blade being steel, you've got the cross guard. You've got the cross guard steel. The little spikes are steel. It has a leather wrapped handle, and then it's got like a cord. It's got kind of like a bootstrap. It almost looks like bootstraps. If you've ever been in the military or seen military style boots, it looks like somebody stole their boot laces and wrapped them around the handle here, and then the pommel. Now, the sword is meant to be a highly polished finish. It does have the fuller, the blood groove running down the center, and it's like super heavy duty polished. I mean, like you can see yourself in it, and yeah, that's a good looking guy. The sides have kind of they're not quite as polished, so they've got a little more of a satin look to them. You can see kind of the brush marks, whatever. But the center is nice and shiny. The handle's nice and shiny. The spikes are actually they've got kind of that satin look to them as well. As you saw a minute ago, I grabbed onto the handle or to the blade. The blade is not sharp. It's false edged. It's best that you leave it that way, because with this being sold out, it is definitely a collector's item now. And if you go around hacking stuff up with it, it's not really going to help your it's not going to help your sword appreciate in value. Yeah. But it does have the tip will poke you. You can certainly impale somebody with it, although that is not recommended, because there is no prize to gain by chopping off somebody's head. So while it was cool for Kit Rae to come up with a nice design for this sword, the one thing he didn't do was make a placard for it. Oh my god. This thing is such a pain in the ass to try and put up on a placard, because the guard, just because of the mechanics and stuff in it, the guard is really wide. And typically whenever you'd go to hang your swords, you would put it on pegs like that. Well, because of the sword, because of how deep it is, most pegs are too shallow, and it won't. It'll sit like on the end of the pegs. Of course, you know, if you made some and made them like really long, it wouldn't be a problem. But on a lot of placards, the pegs tend to be shorter, and so this doesn't really fit on it. So what I did is I've got like some custom racks that I put some of my swords on, including this one. And instead of hang it on its guard, I use safety wire or lock wire. It is it's an aircraft mechanic's best friend, and something very commonly used in the Air Force. It's used probably just as much as duct tape. So you've got your rack. You've got your 2 pins coming off, or your 2 pegs. If you put safety wire or lock wire across them, you can actually set your Kurgan sword. The back of it, you can actually set it on that safety wire, and it will hang without a problem. As you can see, I've got my finger right where the safety wire goes. No problem. Just fine. So that's one way of getting it hung. It works out really well. I've never had any problems with it. If you're worried about the finish getting scratched up, you can always put something on the back side to cover up the wiring. And of course, whenever you secure the wire, whenever you do your twists in it or whatever, try and keep it away from the blade, because you don't want that to gouge your finish or your blade itself or anything like that. So, you know, the little thing to take care of to make sure that you can hang it safely and preserve the blade itself. Okay, so we're going to do a little close-up on this guy. As you can see, I currently have the spikes in. That way you can kind of see what the sword looks like with them like that. So there's the pommel. It's just a round ball on the end. It's got like another little ball, like a little cap on it. It almost kind of looks like they wanted to give the impression that the end was peened. But looking at the drawings that they did, the makeup of the sword is actually just threaded onto the tang, so it's not actually peened. And then you can see the leather handle, and then you've got the boot straps or the cord going around the handle there, and then the cross guard. Now on the cross guard, it's really wide. I mean, it's just, there you go. Helps if I turn it so you can see how wide it is. Yeah, so stick my fingers back in there. And on this side, you can actually see the button that functions the spikes. So just push that down, or up if you're actually holding it up, and then back, and there she goes. Yep. Okay, so now we're going to take an extreme close-up, and now you can see how well it's mirrored, or how polished it is, because you can see a reflection of my living room in the pommel. So, yeah. You can't see me, and that's good, because I'm not wearing pants. So, awesome. Okay, so, here's the pommel. You can see the leather, the straps, boot straps, as I like to call them. And we get here to the cross guard. So this would be your display side, as it doesn't have the licensing information, and it doesn't have the switch on here either. So flip over to the other side, and there's your switch. It's not that hard to flip it, just if you're at a weird angle, it kind of sucks. And then you can see the information. Highlander. Let's see. Serial number 789 Highlander UC2613. Yep. Manufactured by United Cutlery, Davis. Copyright Davis Merch Corporation. Yeah. So they're the ones getting the money for it. So, and again, there's another view there on the cross guard. Just, you know, a weird sort of wide setup, and it's really, you know, for the gears and the switch and getting everything set up. Back on the face side of the blade, and you can see a big difference. Catching it in the light there some. You can see the polished look on the bottom of the blade, and then you can see just how it's more of a satin look down on this section of the blade, and then just gleams light here on the fuller for the blood groove. Big difference. And because it's mirror finish, you can see my fingerprints already showing up on the blade, so you gotta make sure that it stays wiped down, or else it gets ugly pretty quick with fingerprints. Follow it along. So you get to the tip. There are your fuller ends and the tip. Yep. So, and you'll also want to make sure that you clean up the handle real nice, because it'll show fingerprints and all that stuff just as much as the blade will, and you can kind of see already getting smudged just from me handling it here on the video. But thankfully it's all stainless steel, so you don't have to worry about it actually getting rusted up from you putting your dirty grubby paws on it. Yep. She's a beauty.
Hi, I'm Candy.
Of course you are.
So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I've really been looking forward to doing the Kurgan Sword. It's one of my all-time favorite swords. I love this sword. You know, there's talks of a new Highlander movie coming out, where it'll be a reboot or whatever, bringing back the Kurgan. I don't normally like the reboots, but the original Highlander movie hasn't held up all that well over time. But of course, you know, rose tinted goggles, fabulous movie. Still love the movie. And to see the Kurgan come back again, see this sword make another go, man, I'd love it. I'd love to see it. Hopefully it turns out great if they do it. But anyways, if you have any questions, comments, whatever, drop them down below. I'll try and hit you back if I can. And in the meantime, I'll try and get some other videos up and going. I do have Doomhammer. I need to do Doomhammer, and then I'm also looking to do the United Cutlery version of the Black Arrow of Bard the Bowman. Hopefully, I don't know if I'll be able to fit that thing in the screen. It's, oh my god, it's huge. So yeah, I'll try and do something with that if I can. Anyways, take care, and we'll see you on the next go round.